Hello everyone, my name is Amisa and today I'll be teaching you a science topic which is about food chain. Before we begin, let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever wondered how animals get their food? Or how plants and animals are connected to each other in nature? Well, today we're going to learn exactly about that through food chain. A food chain is a way to show how energy moves from one living thing to another. It helps us understand how plants and animals depend on each other to survive. In this lesson, we will learn what a food chain is, and we will also look at the different parts of a food chain, such as a producer and different types of consumer. I will show you a simple example so that you can clearly understand how energy flows from the sun to the plant and then to animals. And by the end of this lesson, I hope you will able to explain what a food chain is, identify the different types of consumer, and understand why food chains are important in our nature. So let's get started and explore the interesting world of food chains together. What are food chains? A food chain shows how living things get energy. It tells us who eats who in nature. Every living thing needs energy to survive, such as plants, animals, and even humans get energy either directly from the sun or indirectly by eating other living things. For example, a rabbit eats grass to get energy, and a snake might eat the rabbit to get energy. This is a simple food chain. The sun. All food chains start with the sun. The sun is the main source of energy for all living things. Plants use sunlight to make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. Without the sun, plants cannot grow, and this would affect the entire food chain. So, we can say that the sun provides energy to start the flow of energy through the food chain. Producers. Producers are living things that can make their own food, usually using sunlight. Plants are the most common producers. Example include grass, trees, and algae. They are very important because all other living things in the food chain depend on them for energy. Without producers, there will be no food for the consumers. Next is primary consumers. Primary consumers are animals that eat plants to get energy. They are also called herbivores. For example, rabbits, deer, and cows are primary consumers. They depend directly on producers for their food. In a food chain, they are the link between producers and other consumers. They play an important role in passing energy along the chain. The next consumers we call secondary consumers. Secondary consumers are animals that eat primary consumers. These are usually carnivores, which means they eat other animals. For example, snakes eat rabbits. Other examples include frogs that eat small animals or even frogs that eat insects. Secondary consumers get energy from the animals they eat, not directly from the plants. After secondary consumers, we have tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers are animals that eat secondary consumers. They are usually top predators in their habitat. For example, eagles may eat snakes. Lions in the savannah eat other carnivores sometimes. These consumers are important because they help control the population of other animals in the food chain. The last consumer is quaternary consumer. Quaternary consumers are at the top of the food chain. They eat tertiary consumers and usually have no natural predators. Not every food chain has quaternary consumers, but when they are present, they help balance the ecosystem by controlling populations of other predators. For example, large sharks in the ocean can be considered quaternary consumers. Now, let's look at an example of a food chain. The sun gives energy to the grass. The grass is eaten by a rabbit, which is a primary consumer. And the rabbit is then eaten by a snake, a secondary consumer. And finally, the snake may be eaten by an eagle, which is a tertiary consumer. This shows how energy moves from one living thing to another, starting with the sun and passing through each level of the chain. Let's think why food chains are important. Food chains are very important because they keep nature balanced. They show the connection between all living things and how each species depends on the others. If one part of the food chain is removed, it can affect all other parts. For example, if all the rabbits disappear, snakes and eagles will have less food and plants may grow too much. Understanding food chains helps us protect the environment and all living things. So, we have come to the end of food chains. Today, we learned that a food chain shows how energy moves from one living thing to another, starting from the sun. We also learn about producers, which are plants that make their own food, and different types of consumers, such as primary, secondary, tertiary, and even quaternary consumer. We also look at a simple example of a food chain and saw how each living thing plays an important role in passing energy along the chain. Food chains are very important because they help maintain balance in nature. If one part of the food chain is affected, it can impact all other living things in the ecosystem. So, understanding food chains help you appreciate how all living things are connected to each other. Before we end, I would like you to think about this. Can you try create your food chain using animals around you? I hope you have learned something new and interesting today. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next lesson.